This is a video addressing some questions about Ron Paul and for the libertarian type economics and the laissez-faire candidates, or candidate as it is. It's in a way a video response to a person newly throwing, ooh, look at that, a person newly throwing their hat in the ring for the Sewing Circle group. But I think these questions are probably fairly common for conservative voters who, I'm not going to say are less involved with politics, but who may be less involved with economics and things of a libertarian type nature because of the some of the things that turn people off from the libertarian group. And those things being the laws regarding drug use, things like laissez-faire in economics, and a very private-oriented approach to governance. I think before we go any further, as it relates to Dr. Paul, when it comes to things such as laws about OSHA, drug law enforcement, things like that, he doesn't necessarily say, listen, there should be no laws whatsoever. The approach there is that where is the need for the federal government to step in where the states can't handle? What is the real necessary role of federal government in these issues that private organizations and private businesses can handle? It used to be my understanding, not used to be my understanding, but my understanding is that it used to be that a role of a federal governance would be to provide a service that a private service would not be able to cover, such as international warfare, things that are wholly unprofitable, such as road construction and things of that nature. But we get to the point now where, on a federal level, they got so many fingers and so many pots that we have duplicitous governance from both a state organization as well as a federal organization. If there already exists a state program, let's talk about my state, for example, Florida. We have state forests and we have national forests. The national forests are equipped by national forestry people as well as state forestry people, and the state forests are equipped and manned by state forestry people as well as federal forestry people. So you got the Withlacoochee State Forest, for example, and the Ocala National Forest, for example. How is that necessary? You got one on top of the other. There is indeed a point where you will need somebody to cross over the state, and then that would be federal. So, for example, if the Ocala National Forest crossed over into Georgia, either you need to have a line of demarcation or you need to have some sort of a federal bonded person to cover both areas. But for the federal government to fill a role that could and should be filled at a local or private level is just completely extraneous. And it's my understanding that Dr. Paul is about recognizing that duplicity and getting the federal government to a more efficient position. The other concern you raised, which I'm only going to be bringing up a couple, and it's some of the big ones, would be what exactly Dr. Paul could do as president. He would probably be the first person that we've had in a long time that would understand the role of the president's office as it relates to the executive branch. And that role is not to post executive orders that are extraneous to the laws of Congress. I feel that he would be a congressional and constitutional president. And if you look at what a congressional and constitutional president is, He goes about the correct way of conducting warfare and international relations. He listens to his ambassadors, and it's off of Congress and the system of checks and balances. And I feel that's what Ron Paul is pushing for. And the irony is that the people that messed up the system in a bit of hook and draw would say, oh, Ron Paul, his foreign relations and yada, yada, yada. Consider this for a moment. If you have a truly constitutional president and he's not interested in sending your troops over to little police actions and spreading his deployed forces all over the world, if it does in fact come to the unfortunate time for our nation to go to war, which would be more effective? A spread-thin military, or a military with the full force and full resolve of the people of the United States of America? Well, you can look at World War II and see what happens there. So I think that criticizing Dr. Paul over foreign relations would be bunk. Also, criticizing Dr. Paul about domestic economy. You mentioned quite a few, Barking Madly mentioned quite a few points in his video about the harm of pure capitalism and laissez-faire. Well, I would like to quickly point out, and maybe cover this first, the results of the housing crisis and the results of investment banks becoming like standard banks, and banks just all crossing over and using, instead of them using the Fed as a lender of last resort, they just used them as a lender, and you have a over fractionalized system of monies. Dr. Paul is very, very cautious, and he's very, very aware of the harms of a fractional banking system. And a lot of the things that you mentioned in regards to futures abuses and stuff are in fact a strong fractional system where you're able to leverage up beyond where the real money is. And you mentioned the robber barons, and those people kind of built their empires on government grants and government favors. And if you have one guy saying government hands off, then that would somewhat take away from that sort of an argument. So we'll leave it at there for now, and I'm going to do a few more of these. Here in Florida, we have our primary coming up on January 31st, and my hat's off to everybody who recently participated in the New Hampshire primary. Hey, at least you got out there and casted a vote. All right, y'all take care.